Welcome back, everybody, to the UL Monroe Warhawks Dynasty featuring the Cajun 6 Conference. We've got some off-season recruiting to do, and we're just going to dive right into it. I'm not going to show you the points. I'm just going to show you what happened, because that's really ultimately what matters. Trace Caballero going to end up signing with the Raging Cajuns, a 5-star tight end that we were really trying to go after. Thought he was really going to help out our offense, but we do grab Billy Tomlinson, Ferdinand Giroux, 2 Patron prospects. That's going to be huge for us. We tried to go after Raj Patel, a wide receiver. He's going to go up to the Green Wave. And just looking at everybody else here, we got another tight end, Waldo Dante. So if we weren't going to get Caballero, Dante would have been my guy. But ultimately, kind of an underwhelming class for the Cajun 6 champions. Not sure exactly what happened here. I think we just got outmanned and outgunned. Maybe a bunch of recruits felt that our prestige, our football prestige, isn't high enough quite yet. But we'll turn the corner here fairly soon. But Grambling State really cleaned up on the custom prospect front. They got Waldo Dante, they got Tayshawn Prince-Smith, a linebacker, they got Elijah Willis. They did some really good things on the recruiting trail. Grambling, I think, one of the better recruiting classes across the Cajun 6. The Raging Cajuns ended up getting Trace Caballero and the kicker, Luca Cloutier, and they were pretty decent as far as the other recruits, CPU-generated guys, in the mid-60s, low 60s. Skip Branson, a quarterback, a custom player, going to La Tech, so he's going to be competing with that young quarterback group. We'll talk about their rosters as we preview year number 2 and just scanning the rest of their recruiting class. Now, Southern is interesting. They lost out on a lot of recruits. So the thing with Southern is we see just how many teams that they lost out to. Army, Arkansas, Texas Tech. Yeah, they tried to play with the big boys, and they kind of got lost in the shuffle there a little bit. But Tulane probably, in my opinion, had the best class across the Cajun 6. Take a look at what they grabbed here towards the bottom. A lot of low 60s, mid 60s players, and they did very, very well for themselves. Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, Pittsburgh, Penn State, all in the top 5 for top recruiting classes. Louisiana, apparently the game likes them. They think that they had a really good class. They got that 5-star tight end and really sprinkled in and complemented that signing with a bunch of 3-stars. So really the quantity for Louisiana is really what pushed them up over the top. 63rd ranked Tulane. I thought that they had a really good class. They got 2 4-stars, defensive end, and a wide receiver. Sprinkled in a couple 3-stars and backed it up with a bunch of 2-stars. It's going to be depth guys there for Tulane. I think that those players are going to end up turning into being nice little role players and a force in the Cajun 6 as we move forward. But as we go ahead and we scroll a little bit lower, and this is really where I'm looking for UL Monroe. And we're not even in the top 100. We're below that ranking. La Tech, Grambling State, we're just below the top 100 here. Could have, kind of splitting hairs there. If maybe they didn't sign those 2 1-stars, maybe they would have been ranked a little bit higher. But yeah, Elijah Willis, Tayshawn Prince-Smith, those 2 defensive players are really going to help them. Waldo Dante, going to be a force to be reckoned with there as a receiving tight end. So yeah, I do like Grambling State's recruiting class. Then we got Southern, only signing a 4-star defensive tackle is really their big guy here. They got a punter. It's an 85 overall punter, which is interesting, but UL Monroe 112th. All things considered, given where we're at with the football program, I think it was a fairly successful class. So with recruiting officially out of the way, and I thought we had a fairly successful recruiting class. I didn't get every Patreon prospect, but we got quite a few of them. It's now time to talk about the preseason and what's next. So I'm up at the stage to create your prospects right now. However, I'm not creating open submission players at this time. So I'm only focusing on Patreon players. If you would like to become a patron, the link to my Patreon is in the description below. It ranges from $1, $3, $5, $10, and $20. And depending on the dollar amount, that's the type of player that you're going to get in this series, or any series for that matter. So just a little plug for the Patreon. Also, I have forms sent to you guys in Discord and through Patreon direct messages. So make sure you guys are taking a look at that, because it's going to close here on October 10th. That's going to give me time throughout the rest of the week to create those prospects and get them up on the recruiting boards for Season 2. Keep in mind, you will be freshmen in Season 3 of the Cajun 6 Conference. Now, keep in mind, you will be freshmen in Season 3, and if you submit another Google form for Season 3 to get on that recruiting board, you will be freshmen in Season 4, so on and so forth. This is the only way to get into the Saints series. I actually shouldn't really say that because you can technically buy your players through channel points. If you guys need to figure out what channel points is, I've also linked that in the description of this video. Make sure you take a look at that. You can also take a look at how many channel points that you have by clicking on the spreadsheet that's also included inside the description of this video. So we're here at UL Monroe's preseason screen. I'm going to go through and we'll take a look here at every team's roster and every team's schedule. And I saved the best for last, so I haven't done UL Monroe quite yet. I have done their schedules, but I haven't done the red shirts. So we're going to do this live. That way you guys can see kind of the ratings of our team and ratings of our players and kind of what we're looking like here. So we currently have a 3-quarterback room. We've got Cooper Caddick. Of course, as you know, Lucas Key was our guy. He ended up leaving for the NFL draft, so he's gone. So Cooper Caddick is our dude here. We also did sign or recruit. This is sign. You got to be careful when you say those words there. But Ferdinand Giroux from New Orleans, Louisiana. So hometown boy here, 6'6", freshman, 256. He's a big boy, and I'm excited for him. I'm not going to redshirt him just in case Caddick goes down with an injury or something, but man, does he have a lot of speed. 90 speed for Cooper Caddick. He's going to be a nice player for us. Doing things that Lucas Key probably couldn't really do is using his legs. We also did get Billy Tomlinson, a 5'8" power running back, and he's got 93 speed, but he's got a power build. That's very interesting to me. Plus, we do get Dylan Huff back. He's a junior running back here, so I like our running back room so far. We've got Luke Vinskov, 91 overall sophomore fullback, so that's going to be really nice. We did redshirt a fullback. And take a look at our wide receiver room. No more Ben Crawford, but man, did it take a hit. But I'm actually okay with this because I think there's some things we can do with this receiving core. I'm not really too worried about it. John Felix really showed some flashes last season, being kind of that wide receiver 3, really. We've got Robert Porter and Ben Crawford kind of being that 1-2 punch, but Felix was not bad. And as a senior 86, he's likely headed to the NFL draft next season. Plus, we've got the freshman last year, Trevon Vaden. Made a couple big catches down the stretch, so he's going to be pretty good, I think. He's got some good size, 6'3". He might be the Ben Crawford up-and-comer, so I'm actually interested to see how he does. But Tio Gardner, wide receiver 3. We got Hayden White, Todd Barnes, a freshman, Brian O'Brien, Anthony Ryan, Houston Mason, and Chris Bryant. Not the Chicago Cubs, Chris Bryant. Only a 2 tight end set, and the guy with the same face there, Houston Harris and Demetrius Smith. Yeah, I think we're going to have somebody else play tight end in there at some point, because I know we do like to get some 3 tight end sets in there. We like to get that single back, maybe I form. Yeah, but we'll see how that goes. Actually, I'm not even redshirting anybody, which I should probably do that. We're not going to redshirt any of our running backs. We should probably redshirt Chris Bryant. He's likely not to make an impact on this team right now. And we'll do it with Ryan because he's got 81 speed. I don't want to redshirt any of the tight ends. This is kind of a walk-on situation. Demetrius Smith. We could do this to Jason Lane. I'm okay with that as a junior who can bring him back as a upperclassman next season. Justin Henderson, he's a little too good right now to do that to. This guy, Rudy Henry, a 47, that's fine by me. And looking like we're a little light here on the defensive side. Actually, a lot of depth issues there for offensive line. That's kind of a concern big time. But we could redshirt Hawkins. That's okay. We can redshirt Hudson. He's a 50 overall. Christian Klumps, that's got to stay. Costas Papagiannis. That's definitely one of your guys' renamed players there. So we're going to redshirt him. We'll go ahead and redshirt Richard and Manning. So we've got 2 opposite ends of the spectrum there, a freshman and a senior coming back next season, hopefully. And Ryan McKenzie will have to sit. He's a 59. That's not good enough. Cornerbacks, we can't really lose anybody here to a red shirts, just due to maybe some injuries there. You don't want to be dealing with that. Nick Hunter will redshirt you, and we might as well do this here to James Hartman. Bring both of these guys back because we are going to lose Tidwell, and Xavier Jackson looks like he's going to have a good hold on that starting job, but there's nothing wrong with depth at that point. Strong safety, Eric Davis could end up being the backup here to Perkins, but this could buy him some more time. This could buy him another season. I'm a little worried though, because that might come back to backfire on us, especially when you're dealing with transfers. So that's kind of worrisome. But overall, I mean, this team I don't think we're going to be as good as we were last season, but it's got some potential to win that Cajun 6 conference yet again. All right, guys, schedule reveal time. Now, because the Cajun 6 beat the Texas teams, or the Lone Star teams, we won the Cajun Lone Star Challenge, and we won it 4-2. So UL Monroe is going to be hosting SMU, which was they had the better record out of the Lone Star group. So basically it's 1 seed versus 1 seed at this point here for next season. So we get to host them, and because we were both 1 seeds in the Lone Star Cajun crossover, the challenge, if you will, we get to have our game played at the Superdome in New Orleans. However, they don't come up here. So that stadium does not come up here in the neutral site games. I thought it would. I think that it should, but it doesn't. So I'm going to try in the database editor to get this game played at the Superdome. No guarantees, but I'm going to try for it. Now, I did try, again, as we go forward and we take a look at everybody's schedules here, I did try to keep this all in 1 week versus last season it was kind of all over the place in the schedule. So most of us have week 1 off, but week 2 I think is what I did for everybody in our conference. I think we had the Cajun Lone Star Challenge being played here in week number 2, which will be very fun. So we'll see how that all plays out. SMU could be another tough team this season. UL Monroe, we're going to take on Ohio State. We're going to take on the national champions. We're confident. And we're going to go into the Horseshoe. It's going to be a tough game. I guarantee you that. But I like the storyline here that's going to be at play. Not only do we have a bye week here in week number 1, kind of give us some time off to prepare for a really good team in SMU who, again, won, or had the better record, I guess you'd say, who had the better record for the Lone Star teams. We got to prepare for that game. Then, and that's going to be a challenge, then we go to the Horseshoe to take on the national champions and number 1 Ohio State. So it's going to be a very, very tough game. I love the storylines here at play. You got Melvin Breaux, who used to be the offensive coordinator out there at OSU, won a national championship out there at Ohio State, and now he's got to go back to the Horseshoe and get a win here with his new team, his alma mater, UL Monroe. So I love the storyline there. Then after 2 weeks of tough football, we're going to take a week off, and then we have to go out to Louisville, which will be an interesting football game. Then we're also going to be taking on Tulsa, which if you guys followed the introduction video, you know that Melvin Breaux, this is also one of his other experiences as a offensive coordinator, actually head coach. So offensive coordinator for Ohio State, but head coach out there at Tulsa, where he actually found himself again after taking a job at UCF and really just kind of not doing a very good job. So went out to Tulsa, got his sea legs underneath him, and then thus went to UL Monroe for his dream job. Then we're going to be taking out Western Kentucky, so we got some good offenses. We got some offensive shootout potential here in week 6 and week 7. Then we go on out to Kansas State to play a tough Kansas State environment in Manhattan, Kansas. And then again, look at the weeks here. We go at, and then conference play begins for Cajun 6 for Grambling and La Tech. Then we'll host UAB, take a week off. We've played, 6 straight weeks? 2, 4, 6, 7 straight weeks of football. Competitive football, all things considered with how our team's lining up, but we'll take a week off. Then we get Louisiana, Southern, and Tulane. So it's a pretty strong schedule by the looks of it here. So Louisiana's going to be tough, Southern's going to be tough, Tulane looks like they're going to be an even better team than they were last year. So this Cajun 6, the champs here, the Warhawks, are really going to have kind of a tough time in the last 3 weeks of the season to win this conference, because these 3 teams right here are going to give us a run for our money. Now, it's only fair to talk about the team that finished in second place last season, the Southern Jaguars. So, of course, they lost Darnell Bourgeois. They lost Jay Miller, one of their top tight ends. They lost Josh Garcia, one of their top ends on the defensive side of the football. So they're hurting a little bit. They go from Darnell Bourgeois to Zeke Wallace here as a sophomore at 77 overall. Not a runner by any means, so he's got that Bourgeois feel to him. So this will be interesting to see how they do with the new quarterback. We're going to redshirt Jamar Hansen. Plus we got Lane Tibergian. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, but this is an open submission player. I believe a lot of these guys are, except for Donnie Doan. I don't believe that he's an open submit guy, but they got a good running back room. Maybe they should probably lean more on their running game versus their passing game. They've got a couple good wide receivers here as well. And, let me know if you see your player here and if you're impressed with kind of what they're turning out to be. So I'm going to keep eyes out for your guys. I think that maybe this guy, John Pitts, would be another one of your custom players. He's a 79. Maybe Jason Muhammad. I doubt it. Aaron Walton, Eric Maddox, Ty Slob. That's definitely one of your guys' players. Has a 68. Chad Felder, an 85. So some of these players will make it into the Saints franchise. Some players won't. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see if you're still watching, if you can see your player here. This is a guy, I know that for a fact. Cookie Chunk, Skipper Holloway, definitely a guy. Joseph James, good linebacker. So it's an interesting team. I don't know if they're gonna really compete yet again for the Cajun 6. They've lost a lot of good quality players. We did actually redshirt Thomas Green, a senior, at 85, because we do have some decent backup there with Maurice Hunter as an 81. And Thomas Green, it sucks that you're going to have to stay, but take a look at what we're losing there. If you're a Southern fan, you're going to lose Joe Stevens, definitely, because you can't redshirt him now, and you're going to lose Hunter as an 81 senior redshirt. So might as well hang on to Thomas Green and get him to come back, because him and Dotson are going to be your 2 free safeties next year. And, that's a lot to lose if you didn't decide to redshirt. So, it sucks for Thomas Green, but I think he'll be all right. They got Jonte Martin and Rayshawn McKinley. But all in all, when you look at this team, they look fairly similar to UL Monroe as far as kind of the overall ratings and then the depth. But, I've been wrong before. I'm not going to be surprised if they somehow compete. But, just looking at their depth chart, looking at the offensive line, looking at the defensive players that they have, I don't know. It's a question mark. Schedule time for the Southern Jaguars. They're going to take on South Alabama. So we got Jaguars versus Jaguars. They're going to go to Southern. Week 2 is open. I would have liked to get UTEP here for week number 2, but they were only available here for week 3. That's okay. But that will be your Cajun Lone Star Challenge right there. And if you take a look, they got a pretty cushy schedule, so maybe I want to take that back. The team itself doesn't look too imposing, but man, do they have a very, very cushy schedule. South Alabama at home, bye week. Cajun Lone Star Challenge, home. Buffalo, home, bye week. Southern Miss at home, bye week. And then they got to go to Texas. So they'll be staying in Texas for a little while. They've got Baylor, Texas on the road, and then they travel to West Virginia before they start conference play. They don't even start conference play until week number 11. That's crazy to me. But that's the way that their schedule worked out, and they've got a really nice one. They might win a bunch of games and really turn some heads. But by the time they start taking on these Texas teams, like established teams like Baylor and Texas, their season might be done as far as getting a good bowl game goes, but they will definitely be in the running, I think, for a Cajun 6 championship. I mean, look at this. La Tech, Grambling, Tulane. They get the easy teams up top, and then they get kind of the tougher teams towards the back end. So kind of a cushy schedule there for Southern, but like I said, I could be wrong. Team that finished in 3rd place last season, and it's a team that really started off really bad. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Grambling was bad when we first started this series in season 1, in the very early going of our season. Towards the end, they really picked it up, and Kalen Walker, their quarterback last season, was really the main reason why. They made a playbook change, they made some changes to their offense, and he just clicked. He started firing on all cylinders, and it really helped him be one of the Saints draft picks towards the latter half of the draft. And, you know, he's not too bad. He's got that star dev going on for him, too. So very interesting quarterback there, and we'll talk more about that in the next Saints video. But they impressed so much that Jose Cheltenham, who formerly played for the Raging Cajuns, ended up deciding that he wants to go out here to Grambling. So really kind of a crazy thing that's going on there. He's now got to compete with Tuatali Man. Now, this was a custom player that was submitted as Too Tall Man, but I love the name so much that I had to figure, like, how can I fix this? How can I get it to be a more realistic thing? Tuatali Man. You get the idea. But look at that speed, 88 speed. Like, he's going to be your starting quarterback, and he's got something to prove. He's 6'8", guys. He's 6'8". Now, Cheltenham, you know, he's got to sit for a season because he's a transfer. And I'm not going to honor the transfer rules things that go on now in the transfer portal. Like, you know, Cheltenham would be the starter. I want to see what Tuatali Man what he's got in him, because the dude that's 6'8" that can run this fast, he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. And I want to see how this is all going to play out in this new offense here for Grambling. All right, so we've got a running back room here that we have a major drop-off. We got Kevin Williams as an 84, 69, 61. They're going to need another running back. Like, they will definitely need to be recruiting another running back in this group. Maybe they get Leonard Gardner here to move over, and they can have like a tight end that goes over to fullback. I don't know. It's an option. But we've also got a couple custom guys like Connie Goodson Jr. We've got Mike Cash, who is 6 feet. I thought that said 6'8". I was like, man, they got a ton of like really tall people. Shamrock. Look at the speed, guys, by the way. This is why I think that they're going to be a really dangerous team. Look at Matt Morrison, 96. Connie Goodson, 99 speed as a junior. Like, this team looks like they might be up to something here. They might be dangerous. Mike Cash, a 90. Shamrock, a 91. They're only going to go upward. Plus, they got Albert Cox and Waldo Dante. He is going to start. I'm going to put him as the top tight end on the depth chart because he is a custom guy over Albert Cox. I believe Albert Cox might be a rename, but I'm not quite sure. But again, if you guys see your player, cool, and let me know in the comment section if you see him. We're gonna redshirt this guy Alex Langford. You know, he's just, I think he said it's a 51. Yeah, so he's got a lot of room to improve. Plus, there's not really a pathway for him to start ever, so you kind of need him to stick around just a little bit longer and get past Randy Flanagan once he graduates and once he's gone. But Elijah Willis, tough call here. I think I'm going to remove that and get Chris Joseph to be the red shirt there. Just so that he can get in on some packages and he can get a little bit of playing time as a freshman. He's 6'7". That's really hard to say no, like you're not going to play. So that's really tough. We might as well redshirt Tyrell Harrison too. He's 6'5" as an 18-year-old. So that's also very tough to say you're going to sit, but man, look at this defense. I'm actually kind of impressed with this defense, guys. An 82, an 82. Grambling might be pretty darn good. Oh, shoot. And then we go to linebackers. Tyshawn Prince Smith with an 88 speed. He might have to move to outside, or we move Dylan Ozenbaugh outside. Either way, you know, this defense looks like it's going to be pretty stout. Secondary looks good. Secondary looks deep. I think Grambling might win the Cajun 6, guys. They might be up to something. They're going to go out to Colorado in week number 1. They got a week off here in week number 3. Then they go to face off against the Dukies. So I love that matchup. And then Memphis. That's a cool matchup, I think. Memphis against Grambling State. Then they're going to travel out to Florida. Enjoy the sun. host a MAC team, and then conference play begins for them. And then they've got a bye week here late in the season, and then they'll take on Georgia Southern, which is technically, by the looks of it, it looks like a rivalry game. Now, for this one, for the Southern and Grambling State game, again, I'm going to try to get this game at the Superdome. I'm going to try my hardest, but, just no guarantees. It's all dependent on what's going to go on with that database editor. But Grambling's got a pretty cushy schedule here in non-conference, and I think they match up really well against Cajun 6 teams. So, yeah, they could actually surprise some people this year. Next up, we've got the Ragin' Cajuns. So this team lost a lot of talent. They lost their quarterback, Alan McAllister. They lost Jericho Burks. They lost Jack Cook, a tight end. But they did replace him with Trace Caballero, which is a custom prospect, Patron guy. He's the clear-cut starter. So I think the Ragin' Cajuns are going to take a step back. I mean, look at their quarterback situation. They got a sophomore, a freshman, and another freshman. It's a very, very young quarterback group. But Elliott Sandage is going to have to step up. He's got some good speed. So in this offense, he's going to be able to do some things, I think, on, especially with running the football now a little bit more. They got D Monet, D Money, 6'2", 201, speed. So he's gonna do that Jericho Burks role pretty well. Plus you've got Kurt Higdon, Keith Rice, Jake Logan's a 64 freshman. I didn't feel like I wanted to redshirt Jake Logan because then you've only got 3 running backs. I feel like 4 is a safe number there. Wide receivers, they still got some good weapons there. I would take the Ragin' Cajuns weapons with the wideouts over Southern and over UL Monroe right now. But, I think their offense could play. They got Trace, again, good tight end. Good left tackle with Joshua Ratliff. Got Lance Burns at 84. The offensive line looks like it's pretty good, man. Except on that right side, they've got Dominique Walker to 69. What are you going to do? Josh Jackson, 94. Their best player by far. Defensively, they're pretty decent. So, I think they're going to take a step back, but by the looks of it, they're going to be fairly competitive. But, and there's another custom guy, Luca Cloutier, kicker, 75 freshman. I think that's about right. I think they're going to take a step back, but they might still surprise some people with their overall record. Let's take a look at the Ragin' Cajuns schedule. They're going to go out to Hawaii, week number 1. What a getaway that is, man. Week number 1, you go out there, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. Then they're going to take on Rice in that Cajun Lone Star Challenge at home. Then they'll travel back out west to Fresno State. I feel like this is a really cool matchup. I kind of want to show this one against Fresno. It's pretty cool. Ragin' Cajuns at home. Then they're going to go on the road again to Virginia Tech. Then they got 2 weeks off before they have to prepare for a game against LSU. Number 2, LSU, where they don't have Rain Rowe and they don't have LA Rowe. They don't have Kemba Digby. They don't have Michael Concepcion. They don't have one of their left guards. So LSU lost a lot of talent, but still they are ranked number 2 in this series. So what's kind of funny with the Ragin' Cajuns, they go away, home, away, home, away, off, away, home, away, home, away, home. So they've got kind of a bipolar looking schedule here. But again, their Cajun 6 games do not happen until late in the season. I kind of like their schedule. It's tough in the right places, but it's kind of soft in the right places too. Like, I feel like they should beat Rice. I feel like they should beat Hawaii. But it is in Hawaii. It's jet lag. It's paradise. It's not gonna be easy for them by any means. But yeah, LSU, that's definitely gonna be a loss. Like, who are we kidding? Next up, we've got Tulane. I think my favorite team this season in the Cajun 6. Outside of Grambling, I think that Tulane's got a really, really good shot. Now, they're going to have a battle because what was going on with Philip Maynard last year was nothing good. The man threw for 10 touchdowns and 5 picks with 54%. Like, he wasn't good. Jake Matt, on the other hand, was a little bit better in gameplay. In simulation, 11 touchdowns and 7 picks. Is it time for Kyle Styles? I mean, like, look at his rating at 74. You got Jesse George at a 72. I don't know if it is or not. But overall isn't everything. Awareness is. So Maynard and Matt are going to have to duke it out here, kind of like a Michigan quarterback situation, like what we're facing right now. At least early in the season, it was McNamara, then it was McCarthy. It's like, what are we doing here? Jim Harbaugh, who's the guy, right? So they might have to use their first couple weeks to really determine which quarterback they're going to go with, because look, both guys are impact players. So it's going to be a tough call here for the Green Wave, but running backs, they got a really good stable there with Flash Jackson, Greg Swain, and Jordan Robbins. They got Manning here at an 85. They got Barabalt at an 84. Chisholm, Sky Blessings, Raj Patel, a custom guy, Ricky Gordon. I love their receiving room. Got a lot of speed, got some really sweet-looking names. Like, that's awesome. Barabalt, Chisholm, and Blessings, and Patel. Like, love it. Adam Stevens, Phil Swift. They got Victor Fish at tight end. Offensive line could use a little bit of work there by the looks of it, but we're also going to redshirt the senior Jonathan Jenkins. Again, because I don't think that Williams is a freshman. I don't want him to transfer. And these guys, you know it, if you've played the game, they will transfer. A guy like a 70 overall as a freshman, he's going to be like, this isn't what I signed up for. So in the case that Anderson goes down, Williams can play. And that kind of is a security blanket there. Plus, when Anderson leaves for the draft, Jenkins is going to come in and he's going to see some progression through training next offseason. He's going to be the pure starter. Then you got Williams as a sophomore to back him up. So it's a nice little plan there, a succession plan. I kind of like that. You've also got Eugene Jenkins there at a 72. So a bunch of Jenkinses, man. People are going to make fun of me. They did it in the Big 12 Team Builder Dynasty. It was Jenkins. It's Jenkins all over the place. Got a pretty good defense. Like, I'm kind of on Tulane's little bandwagon here. Good cornerbacks with Ziegler, Amos, Schmidt, Hendricks. That'll play with Cajun 6 play. Not so sure if they take on a better opponent in out of conference, but overall, they're not a bad team. I think they're better than they were last season. I think that this is kind of deceiving. Like, Grambling is still kind of my favorite, but I think they're going to be a lot more competitive than they were last year. Schedule time here for the Green Wave. They will actually play in week number 1. Now, we didn't see this a lot through the other teams. A lot of teams aren't playing in week 1 for Cajun 6, but they will host the Colorado State Rams, just like the green on white. It's a pretty sweet-looking matchup. They'll take on the UTSA Roadrunners here for the Cajun Lone Star Challenge. Again, that's at home for Tulane. Then they'll go at East Carolina and then at Miami. So at least somebody here in the Cajun 6 is actually trying to challenge themselves, just kind of like UL Monroe is. So they're going to try to take on Miami. They're number 24. They could possibly upset them. If you look here, I didn't want to take on Army. They're a little too tough right now in this sim. Iowa's a little too tough. Illinois, possibly, but I kind of just like this matchup between the Green Wave and the Hurricanes. Like, it just was cool to me. They're going to have a week off in week 5. Then they'll take on Temple. They'll go out to Pennsylvania to take them on. Plus, they will take on LSU at home. So it's kind of a 1-on-1 deal. They took them on last season in LSU, and now they're going to be going here to Tulane. So, by week 7, most fans are thinking like LSU needs to host that game, but it's a 1-on-1 deal. So that it is what it is. They'll start their conference schedule a little bit early here in week 9, as we've seen like a lot of teams in our series are doing a lot of late Cajun 6 games, but they'll finish off their Cajun 6 games with week 13, 14, and 15, but they're going to start them a little early there. Grambling, that should be a good game. I'm excited for that one. Tulane against Grambling State. My 2 favorites, Grambling being the number 1 and Tulane kind of being that number 2. And last but not least, we've got Louisiana Tech, which, by the way, they look pretty solid too, man. Look at that. Look at the defense. They got some defensive players up there. Their offensive line looks really good. It's going to depend on, like, if I scroll here, what their depth looks like. Okay, they got some 50s in there, a lot of freshmen, got some mid-60s in there. It's a very well-balanced football team. Let's take a look at what they've got going here at quarterback. They've got Formulacia at an 80. They got William Hayes, the sophomore, as a 77, so he could compete actually with the senior Tim Harris. But with that speed, that's what's kind of separating him right now, and an 87 awareness. Yeah, so I think you got to go with Harris for a little while. But Hayes looks like he's got the better arm strength out of everybody. He's got an 86, 81 accuracy, could be a little bit better there. Formulation kind of the direct opposite of Hayes, an 88 accuracy, 82 throw power. So William Hayes, if you're out there, if you got any more channel points and you want to, upgrade your player, you better start thinking about that to get your player to be upgraded. So really kind of what's funny is that if you've got players in a series, guys, and if you're playing in channel points contests, this is kind of hilarious to me because you can basically compete with each other on if you're going to get the starting job or not. So very, very funny. We've also got a Patreon guy by the name of Skip Branson. He's a freshman, and he's gonna challenge. He's a 75 overall player. He's currently an 80 throw power, 83 accuracy, so very well balanced quarterback. I don't think that he's going to challenge Formulacia or Tim Harris right now. This is why I've decided to redshirt him. I'm taking a risk here because when the game says that you want a redshirt and leave because of that red shirt, that's really gonna be kind of a challenge for me. Figuring out how to keep you there. You can do it in the DB editor, but it's tricky sometimes. Now Andrew Kerr was an interesting decision because I know that Mark Young's gonna be the starter. You got Troy Murphy here, the guy with the lesser speed, the lesser agility, the lesser awareness, the lesser break tackle. I just felt like he can come back next season. And then you can have a Mark Young and Kerr 1-2 punch right there. Matthew Harris, Damian Bruder, likely not going to progress fast enough in order to kind of supplant Andrew Kerr as the RB2 next year. So that was kind of the thought process there. They got a good fullback. They got Israelovich as wide receiver 1, Bocephus Jackson, Terrence Evans, Tommy Rivero, Deshaun King. Fairly good receiving core, good receiving room there. They got tight end Justin Rivera. He's going to be a target. Good left tackle room, 82-81. Good center at 85. Ray Daly. Vincent Scheffler should be going to the pros as an 82. Rashard Evans. Good defense. Yep. Marcus Davis, an 86. Linebacker on the outside, a little concerning there on the left side, but middle linebacker there with Frank Einstein, not Einstein, like, that was corrected in the comment section. I remember that. Plus Marcus Burns is an 86. And then Dio Durant is an 82 with Terrence Miles and Scott Stevenson. So, if anything, I love Louisiana Tech's defense. They might even surprise. They might challenge. So if it's kind of like, if we're looking at this like a 3-team out of 6, like who's in the top half, I think UL Monroe would be kind of that 3.5 rating. Honestly, we're gonna challenge, but I don't know if we're good enough to be number 1. I don't know if we're good enough to be number 2. We're really kind of right there with Louisiana Tech. Their kicker's terrible though. So that's gonna be a downfall for this team, I think. But man, are they solid? Louisiana Tech might be that number 3. I like Grambling number 1. I like Tulane number 2, and I think Louisiana Tech's right in that 3 slot. But UL Monroe is definitely going to challenge them. And last but not least, we'll take a look at their schedule. They actually try to challenge themselves too, and they're going to go on the road in week number 1 against Michigan State. Then they'll take on North Texas, who really gave us kind of a run for our money in season 1. They'll take them on at home, take a week off after some 2 tough games. Then they'll host Central Michigan and Cincinnati before going on the road to Maryland, come back home to face an easy Old Dominion team, and then go out to Wyoming. Of all places, they're going to go out to Wyoming. It was like the only thing, I guess, in week number 8. They're like, what's an easy game we can win on the road to kind of impress some people? Let's go out to Wyoming. Let's go sightsee. Then conference play begins in week 9, and I think this is the first time I've seen this. One of our Cajun 6 teams has their conference games start in week 9 and then continue all the way till week 12. So then they got back-to-back weeks off, and then they take on Grambling State. So you know what, man, their schedule is lining up to where if they can beat us and they can beat Tulane, Southern, Louisiana, like if they go on a run here for 4 straight weeks, Grambling does their thing, this could be a game that's kind of the de facto championship game. Week 15. 2 teams I like this season, so could be very, very interesting of a matchup there for week 15. So we got to eyeball that one just a little bit. So guys, with that out of the way, we are done with today's video. Leave a like if you like this thing. And just one thing I wanted to show you guys really quickly is if we go to edit roster here and I go to all teams, you guys will see that a lot of the players that were inside that year 1 draft class for the Saints, they decided not to leave. So they decided not to go to the pros. A lot of them were juniors like LeBlanc, Rain Rowe, Barry. So they decided that they weren't going to declare. But I included them in the draft class anyway. So the deal is that as we get into the playoffs, as we get into meaningful games, and as we talk about dev traits, and we talk about award winners, and we talk about statistical leaders, and really kind of coming up with who should be in the draft class is like CPU guys or your custom guys like Rain Rowe and LeBlanc or Travis Willows. They're taking spots over for people that could impress. Like if I go to LSU's quarterback room, I bet you that they've got a pretty decent quarterback like behind Rain Rowe. Like I'm almost betting that. We'll see. Like I said, I could be wrong. But if I'm doing this live right now. But if we look, so we've got Wayne Reginald, a freshman redshirt who was an 87 overall. Like what? He's got to play, man. He's got 91 speed. So yeah, Wayne Reginald, gotta be the guy. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take Rain Rowe and I'm going to just completely knock him down to a 0 awareness. And then let's see where he is. So he's a 72 now. That's not enough. Let's take down the speed. It'll probably be like a 48. Wait, what was that? 7. Wait, no, that was the wrong guy. What do we got? 61. That's fine by me. A 61 overall player, that's fine. You're not playing. Wayne Reginald will be the starter. So I think this is what I'm going to have to do with these guys. But another option is I could have you guys rename these players. That would be a lot more interesting, I guess. But then again, you're going to basically take on their career statistics and the awards that they won. And I don't know, I just don't really think that that's very fair. So let me know in the comment section what you kind of want me to do with these guys. I think maybe it would be interesting to do the names and the renaming thing, but I kind of like the idea of like a Wayne Reginald like taking the NCAA by storm and, you know, potentially being one of the best quarterbacks that anybody could have in the next couple seasons in the draft class, in the future draft classes. So that's kind of a cool idea. But this would be a lot easier just to knock down some attribute points and getting them to a point where they're not going to start anymore. Like they'll be in the series, they'll be in the franchise file or the dynasty file, I should say, but you know, they're not going to make an impact. Let's just see like if we've got the right guard or anything like the offensive lineman. Nope, not there. What about Digby? Nope, he's gone too. What about cornerback? Nope. But guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Leave a like if you like this thing, and I will see you back here next Saturday for Week 1 and Week 2 action in the Cajun 6 Dynasty. See you guys then. As always, thanks so much for watching, and peace.